You hit it with a couple Warhammer minis and it kicks back up and starts going.
Yeah.
Or you give it the Geralt grunt and it'll be like, oh, all right, I got it. I'm working.
Toss it in the oven for 30 minutes and it'll fix itself. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CoinDrop Podcast. This is episode 116, and joining me once again, back from his week break, Zach is with me. Zach, how's your week been?
You know, I always think that work is going to get a little less busy. It doesn't ever get less busy. I managed to schedule all my doctor's appointments in a perfect amount of time for my work week to still be busy. So it's been good. A little hectic. So glad to be here. It's Friday.
Yeah, relax a little bit, enjoy the weekend. Did you have another turbine blow up on you?
Oh, no, not this time. I've been working with my coworkers on fixing their issues along with all the 8 million issues that I have on mine, but nothing has blown up yet.
Operative word there, right? Well, we have quite a bit of housekeeping to do at the top here. To peel back the curtain for you guys a little bit, Mike has stepped back from editing. He's got some life stuff he is sorting out, figuring out, and he needs to focus on that. So he actually hasn't been editing for us since I got back from PAX. Every single episode has been edited by me since then. I am also a father, a husband, and a full-time student who also works. I cannot keep up this pace. Now, that doesn't mean we're going away. It means we're going to move to a twice monthly schedule because I cannot be the sole editor, founder, collaborator, all this stuff. It's a lot of hats to wear on top of my already packed schedule and packed responsibilities. I have hope that Mike will return in the future once his life gets back in order, once he gets things settled and gets sorted, much like he did. He took a break last year. I'm hoping he will return. I don't know if he will, but until then, or until Chris is spun up on editing to be able to do it as quickly as I can, that we can swap off weeks and be able to publish weekly for you guys again, I can't continue a weekly podcast. I don't have the capability. I just don't. So this will be our first of 2 episodes for October. We will be doing this episode, and then we will be recording our Halloween episode, either the 17th or the 24th. I will have more information as you're watching this or listening to this in the notes. At the very top, it'll be declared exactly what day the next episode will be recorded and coming out. I don't have that information for you at the time of recording right now. This doesn't mean that you're just getting a week of no content, because I don't want to do that. So what we're doing instead is we're doing a couple of things. This is going to allow us time to pull some shorts and get some shorts out there. So we're going to have 3 to 4 shorts, maybe sometimes even 5 shorts coming out through the week. Those are going to be bits from maybe previous episodes, maybe this episode, maybe last week's episode that release in that off week. In addition to that, in those off weeks, I'll be posting episodes of my Red Dead Redemption 2 playthrough. I haven't finished all the editing, but I've got something like 26 episodes done. So hopefully, by the time you guys get caught up to where I'm at in my editing, the rest of the series is done. Fingers crossed, but that's another project I still have to edit. In addition to that, we're also going to be doing gaming nights. Now, this isn't going to be a stream. This isn't going to be us playing on YouTube or playing on Twitch. This is literally just going to be Saturday nights when we're off. I will have, again, more information in the description, more information in future episodes. We will be in the Discord, in the public lobbies, hanging out, playing video games, whether we're playing something together, playing our own separate things. This is your open invitation to join us, come play games with us, ask us our opinions on stuff, tell us how we're doing, just hang out and say, hey, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think of that? How do you like this game? Have you played that game? Just hang out and chat. So that's what we're going to be doing. That's the plan moving forward. And I would like to carry some of that into the future, even when and if we do get back to doing a weekly podcast. This was not an easy call for me to make. I feel like I'm letting what audience we do have down. And it's a lot. It's a lot to step back from trying to push this podcast where I want it to go, where I think we're capable of getting. And taking a step back like this, I know ultimately will be better for me, but it's also going to hurt the long-term goals of what I have for the podcast. So that's where we're at. The next episode we'll publish probably going to be the 30th, just because, again, that's going to be a Halloween episode. I'm hoping to have both Chris and Zach on here, and we're going to talk about a game that I can't talk about right now because it's not under embargo, but I don't want to spoil anything. It was under embargo, but we're going to talk about that. I think that's all I had for housekeeping. Sorry, that was a lot. Again, check the description for more information. It'll be down there, whether you're on Spotify, wherever you are, in the description, more details. Always, as well as links to everything. If you say you couldn't get into our Discord, that's on you, because there's a million links to our Discord that I've made sure are all permanent links. They're everywhere. You can find it. I believe in you. Okay, Zach, we're going to peel back the curtain a little bit for our Freeside listeners here. At the top of episode 114, you almost killed me. You brought up a memory that I had not thought of that has lived rent-free in your head for a decade, maybe two, probably two.
We're on like 2 decades now. So speaking of housekeeping, and well, an important goal of housekeeping is timely grocery purchases. And then timely grocery purchases is bread. So if you remember from the last episode with me, I alluded to the moldy bread incident.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And this has lived rent-free in my head. Every time I eat bread, it's a replay. So we'll roll back. We'll go back 2 decades here, roughly.
Yeah, back when cell phones were new, when you could play Snake on your Nokia, was it the N650 or something like that is what they called the old brick? Yeah, that was hot.
I'm 90% sure that the Nokia was in my pocket.
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, I know I had one.
Yep. Set the stage. I believe this is a long time ago. So we were either playing EverQuest or we were playing Halo.
It was definitely one of the two.
You know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. We never figured out how to sleep every time we hung out.
Nah.
So me, being the skinny bean rail I am, have an extremely high metabolism. I have to eat all the time. I'm hungry. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go dig around the kitchen. It's 2 a.m. Don't want to wake your dad, your stepmom, or your sister. So sneak into the kitchen and I find some bread and I'm like, bingo.
Yep.
Perfect.
Key bit of information here. You didn't turn on the lights.
Didn't turn on the lights. Yeah. Sneak in. Didn't want to turn on the lights. Go back. We're playing Halo. This is back before we had LED, OLED, 8 million lumen TV with high def. So we're playing on,
it was my dad's like 47-inch CRT TV. It was like a big old JVC or something like that. The thing buzzed so loud, it was almost as loud as the gunshots on Halo. It was not a quiet TV.
We're crushing it. We're playing Halo. I'm eating this bread. And I'm like, this is good. I'm not even paying attention to the bread. It's Halo. How can you pay attention to what you're eating when you're doing like a lasso run? Fast forward to like 4 a.m. I don't know what time anymore. It was
at least 30 minutes later. It was a good bit of time.
Turn on the lights, and bread is a strong word for the ecosystem that was in that bag. A very strong word. If The Last of Us, if there was a cordyceps fungus that was gonna take anyone over, it was in that bread bag. I couldn't tell you what kind of bread it was at this point. For all I know, it was hot dog buns or burger buns. Oddly enough, though, it tasted fine. I was like, oh. But just seeing it, though, the revulsion, to this day, I'm unbothered by moldy bread when I see it. I'm just like, I've had worse. I've had worse.
Oh, God damn it, dude. Jesus.
Check your bread.
Check your bread.
Check your bread.
It was really funny. I was scrambling to make some food before the podcast, get some food in me because I hadn't eaten. And I went into the fridge to grab a couple of tamales. They were left over from my daughter's birthday, kind of mid last month. And they were moldy. And I was like, fuck. Throw those away. And then I immediately started laughing because I knew this was coming. Yeah, check your bread. Throw your bread away.
If it's got mold on it and you have kids in your house, you have friends over.
Yeah.
Throw it away before one of your child's friends eats half of a loaf of
moldy ass bread. I don't remember if it was French bread or if it was hot dog rolls or what it was, but I remember my dad was notoriously horrible at shopping. I never ate so many stale chips or hard breads or just slightly expired foods as I did when I was at my dad's house. He was not on top of it. The one thing he did always have, Costco muffins.
Costco muffins?
I lived off those things for a long time at his place.
Those things were amazing.
Yep.
Now, I mean, like I will say, like at 4 a.m., I was kind of unfazed about it, which I guess was the good thing. It was like, I have more important things to do, or I'm too tired to care. If it was any other time of day, probably would have been worse. So.
Yeah. Well, I will say you boosted your immune system, bro. If there's going to be cordyceps now, you're immune. You've got the antibodies or whatever.
There we go.
Yeah, you're safe.
Which is good.
Yep. What's also funny about cordyceps is canonically it goes through the bread, right? Specifically wheat. So that means pretty much all celiacs will be fine.
There you go.
Let's talk about something else that's killing people, figuratively, not literally. I'm working on my transition. I'm getting there.
There we go. We're getting there.
There's been a bit of a debacle with Xbox Game Pass, and I know nothing about it. Luckily, my co-host does. Zach, what do you know? What's going on, man?
So, I've always been a huge Microsoft fanboy. Since the days of the OG Xbox, I've owned an Xbox 360, every version of the Slim, the One, the Series X, you name it, I had it.
Team Green.
To our friend's behest of, why don't you get a PC? Or I'm a PlayStation guy. Now I'm an adult, I have all of them. But I primarily still, if it wasn't for my PC, I'd be playing on my Xbox. So Microsoft and Xbox games, so can't really say Microsoft, Xbox games and studios, just announced earlier this week, they're raising the price of Game Pass Ultimate.
Didn't they just do that?
And I would have to look at the previous date, but I feel like they did. But Xbox Game Pass works kind of like on a tiered system. So back in the original days of the Game Pass, you got the Game Pass. Hey, here's 2 free games a month. Here's some free games library. But now they've diverged into 3 different paths. It turned into like Netflix. If you look at the market, Xbox loses money on consoles. They actually take a loss because they recoup that money through Game Pass. They make so much money off of Game Pass that they've kind of been defaulting to that as the cornerstone of Xbox to keep up with Sony and Nintendo. There's so much so that the Xbox Showcase, they announced their new handheld.
Right.
Which they wanted to compete with Nintendo. The cornerstone of that being, here is a handheld that can have all of the Game Pass games on it. Cool. But now you're raising the price of Game Pass itself. And I think the price raise now, they're going up to $30.
Yeah, it looks like here, $29.99 a month.
$29.99. Now, that's a pretty big monthly payment just to play games. And I would be more excited about it if there were more games that I wanted to play.
Yeah.
Looking at upcoming releases, nothing really seems notable. Like, we have Moonlighter 2, which is an indie game. I do like Moonlighter.
Moonlighter's a good one. Yeah, it's one of the few cozy sims. I actually talked about it last episode with Chris. It's one of the few cozy sims, and I don't even know that it really qualifies as that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Now, there's so much outrage over this that it crashed the website for Xbox to cancel the Game Pass subscription.
Damn.
The day they announced it. So I don't know what Microsoft's plan is here. They can't compete with Sony on games. We're kind of giving a glimpse of that. We have Gears of War going to Sony. Like, that's pretty nuts. What notable Xbox exclusive games do we have these days? We have we have the Halo series, which isn't doing so hot. And we have Forza, which kind of is going the route of Need for Speed, where if you played the first 10 of them, you've played them all.
Yep.
So I want to see the market data here where they decided that, hey, there's going to be so many people that are going to keep Game Pass regardless of us changing the price, that it won't matter if we change the price, which there's some truth to. When AOL canceled themselves, AOL was still making a lot of money from people who just didn't cancel AOL.
There's whole apps and ecosystems around reminding people what subscriptions they're paying for, because hell, I wouldn't be surprised if some of our Patreon subs have forgotten they're paying us. We don't have that many, but there's entire apps built around that idea of like, you forget where your money's going.
Yeah. And while $30 is a pretty hefty price to pay, especially when everything is a service now. You have your Netflix, your Hulu, Amazon Prime, you know, Paramount, HBO.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a PlayStation, you have PS Now you have Xbox Game Pass. It's exhausting how much money we're spending. So to have a price raise, it's just how much can we go before we go back to putting our Jolly Rogers up and going that route. Now, in Xbox's defense, because I have to be objective in my opinion here, they do offer a lot of content with their Game Pass. So much so that I still have Game Pass and I couldn't get through the amount of Game Pass games that they toss on there if I wanted to play every game that they put on there. But they wrap in other companies' passes, so to say. So it's like if you got Netflix and Netflix was like, hey, we're also going to give you Hulu and Paramount Video and Disney Plus. You're like, oh, okay, that's a great deal. You get Ubisoft now. I think EA was wrapped in there at some point. I don't know if they still are.
Yeah, I mean, it's just cable under a different umbrella, right? Cable was a collection of channels you paid a singular price for. Disney does it with Hulu and ESPN. Like, it's the same old idea, just done in a different format.
Yep. It's this. They saw the success that other media's had with it, and I think they're going that route with it. But they really need to have something more than indie games on their Game Pass. And you know, they're great with, hey, play it on day one, but if you look at the upcoming games, I don't want to say Moonlighter 2 is big. I love Moonlighter, so yeah, that's big to me.
Yeah, it's definitely a small title though. Like, that's not going to pull hundreds of millions of people.
Exactly. All right, we have the Outer Worlds 2.
Good game.
We have Ninja Gaiden 4.
Yeah.
We have Black Ops, which,
all right, another one.
Yeah. I don't play Call of Duty anymore, but I'm sure it makes them a lot of money. After that, we got Power Wash Simulator 2 and
nice.
And like, you look at their 2026 window, Subnautica 2, cool. Forza Horizon 6. You know, I love Forza, but like, how many Horizons can I play? They're all the same. We've had Fable. I still don't know what the new Fable is going to be about. No one does. And there was not a peep of it at the last showcase.
Yep.
And then in our unknowns, you know, we have Gears of War and then Persona. What are we doing here? Give us something. It's hard to want to play Game Pass and $30 a month when, you know.
So historically, we at CoinDrop have been pretty hard on Xbox. I don't know if you've listened to some of the earlier stuff with Tim when we talked about it, but their numbers don't add up, specifically for a lot of the same reasons you're talking about right now. They take a loss on their hardware and they hope to make up those numbers in Game Pass. Now, I haven't looked at the metrics in a long time, but I remember countless times that we looked at them and saw that, one, they weren't meeting their goal, so they weren't making enough money off of Game Pass. Two, the games they were developing in-house weren't selling because of first day on Game Pass. Nobody was buying their games. It directly hinders people from releasing, like, to the point where developers notably skipped releasing on Xbox because they weren't going to make any money. And so while Game Pass conceptually seems like a good idea, Microsoft has hemorrhaged IPs so badly, there's nothing there to sell it. They've gone multi-platform. They've been doing it for the last 3 years or so. And just to kind of break down these numbers, I was right. Xbox, relatively speaking, just recently raised their prices. They just rose them back in July of 2024 from $16.99 to $19.99, and are now in October raising them $10 past that to $29.99. Now, Netflix, one thing people criticize a lot is their price tag. Their price tag for their 4K package is $5 cheaper than Xbox. This is where things get a little tricky for me because, yeah, you know, if Netflix, a streaming service for movies, is $25 a month, playing video games, there's substantially more investment into video games. There's substantially more content in terms of enjoyment length in video games. $30, while high, totally understandable, while high, seems in line with what we pay for streaming services now. Honestly, if I'm being fair to Microsoft and their pricing points, that's the thing with Xbox too, is there isn't a competitor to Game Pass. Your competitor is you buy your fucking games.
Yeah, your competitor is the quarterly Steam sale, and you're like, what can I get on the quarterly Steam sale? Tell me, Magic Conch, will I play this game?
Yeah, that's the reality. Is I don't know that they have numbers. I think they're taking a shot, because we've said it a lot on CoinDrop. I don't think Xbox is going to survive another 2 generations, at least in hardware terms. They have pushed so hard towards Game Pass and games as a service and have hemorrhaged IPs. We still have nothing about Fable for years now. We've got 2 trailers of it. They've told us there's a male protagonist. We've never seen any sign of a male protagonist. We have no idea what the story is. We have no idea what the development is. And the team that's making it is a team that makes Forza Horizon. They don't make fantasy games.
Yep. This is like if you found out Gears of War was being made by the people who made Pal World, you'd be taken aback a little bit. Like,
or Battlefield was being made by the team that made Roy McIlroy's golf. Sure, you can step outside your genre, but when you're talking about a beloved franchise like Fable, say what you want about Peter Molyneux. We're going to talk about him in the quickfire, but
we're getting there.
Fable 1, 2, and 3 are fun games. They were fun. They were snarky. Oh, yeah. They had the British humor. They were. Jean Cleese was in it. All right, that's all I gotta say.
And they were replayable.
Yeah.
For even how short they were, there was a reason to replay them. And you know, at the time of when they came out, like they were groundbreaking games. But now the market's so saturated. How do you make a fantasy game and you compete with the likes of
The Witcher,
Expedition 33, The Witcher, you know,
Crimson Desert?
Like how? And you know, you're gonna have the core base of 30-plus-year-old dads who are like, I remember Fable. I remember getting the shopkeeper drunk and then pushing him out of the shop so I could steal all the chainmail.
I remember fighting Thunder because I beat his little sister Whisper in the tournament for the guild leadership badge. Yeah. I remember Jack of Blades. Like, I just recently, like maybe a year and a half ago, replayed through Fable Anniversary. It's a fantastic game. It's just
fantastic game.
Dumb fun. The best weapon in that game is a frying pan. Like, straight up, it's a joke at the end. It's great.
Yeah, the humor's great. You know, I will still hold Fable 2 to this day as the worst ending to a video game ever. Sorry, worst boss fight. Boss fight.
Yeah.
Not worst ending. Worst boss fight. Like, you don't even do anything. Anyways.
Yeah.
But I don't know what their plan is when they don't release any content. They absorbed Undead Labs after State of Decay 2, and they effectively forced them to announce State of Decay 3 after they just released State of Decay 2. And now we've been almost 3 years and we've had a trailer. And I love State of Decay, but when you absorb a game studio and you force them to announce something, and then we have no news, and you know, we just saw it with Perfect Dark getting canned. What hope is there? Why am I going to hold out on Game Pass to play on day one a game that is now looking like it might not exist, actually?
Yeah. It's really funny that you kind of mentioned they just finished 2 and then had to get pushed into announcing 3. Microsoft hasn't, specifically Xbox, hasn't learned anything. They did that same thing to Bungie with Halo 2 and Halo 3. Halo 2 was supposed to have a lot more content in the game. And they forced them to push the game out early, and that's why the game ends the way it does and 3 picks up the way it does. Technically, the beginning of 3 was supposed to all be part of 2. There's a bunch of documentaries and people that have like dug through Halo 2 and found a bunch of stuff, and it's really fascinating, but that was years ago. Microsoft really hasn't learned from their past mistakes. The part that bothers me the most is Perfect Dark got such a huge reaction from the crowd. So many people were like, holy shit, yeah, we're getting it. It looks amazing.
Perfect Dark's back. It's rated M.
M for most kids.
For most kids.
And it's one of those things. It's like, guys, what the fuck were you thinking announcing this game when literally all you had to show was this one vertical slice, and then you can it? And the articles online blow me away too, because a lot of the people are like, oh, you know, this sucks, da 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 da. But I'm sure Fable's fine because that's Playground Studios. That's Microsoft's bread and butter. No one is safe from layoffs. No studios are safe from being cut. And under Microsoft, you either are forced into third party, your game isn't going to sell, or you get closed. Like, that's it. Still Wakes the Deep is another great example. That game came to Xbox Game Pass day one, and its sales clearly hemorrhaged because of it. That game has so much promise and was so cool, but it's trackable that Game Pass hurts games. It's good for gamers, it's bad for developers. And while as a gamer, I appreciate access to day one games for, hell, even $30 a month, that's still more than half the cost of games.
Less than half if you're Borderlands.
Yeah, right.
If you're Borderlands.
But it's still cheaper than buying the game outright. So
yep.
They don't have the content there. They go through these swings where sometimes they have content, sometimes they don't. They got Diablo 4 launched on Game Pass, which was fucking crazy. Yeah. So they occasionally get hits, but man, for a long time, we haven't understood what Microsoft is doing. And I'm pretty convinced Microsoft doesn't know what Xbox is doing.
The day one stuff is cool and all. I probably wouldn't have played Avowed if it wasn't for the fact it was a day one game. And now when I play this day one game, I was like, actually, for how much I was worried that this game wasn't going to be good, I actually really enjoyed Avowed, despite all of the negative commentary about people thinking it was supposed to be another Skyrim, and it wasn't. I really enjoyed it. It was a completely different kind of RPG, so much so that I went and bought it on Steam because I didn't want to play it on Xbox. I wanted to play it on my PC. And I was like, like you're right. It hurts sales. It hurts sales when you come out with a game that people are hesitant to play. And for every one of me that played the game and enjoyed it and bought it, there's probably a dozen other people who aren't going to play it, or they download it on day one. They're like, it's cool, whatever. And they kick it down the road. And it's tough whenever you're a developer. You know, Obsidian isn't Bethesda.
Right.
Obsidian can't eat a Starfield loss and go, oh, well.
Yeah.
It happened with Avowed, and now we have the Outer Worlds 2 coming out, and I hope, Outer Worlds 1 was great.
It was fantastic. And honestly,
it was fantastic.
I think Obsidian makes the better version of Bethesda's games, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree.
Fallout New Vegas is the best of the modern Fallouts. Outer Worlds is a phenomenal game. I'm looking forward to Outer Worlds 2. I was looking forward to Avowed, and to be fair, I can understand why people drew the lines between Skyrim and Avowed, because it very clearly looks like that vein. But you can say it also looks like Dark Messiah. It also looks like any other first-person melee game. Dishonored. It's just a first-person melee game. And the problem I think that Obsidian faced was they didn't make it clear. They didn't basically come out and say, this isn't Skyrim. We are not trying to be Skyrim. Had they said that, that might have cleared up the confusion for a lot of people that look at it and go, hey, this looks like Skyrim. Maybe they did come out and say that. I don't know. But if they did, they sure didn't do it very loud.
Yeah. My thing with Avowed as well is they had such great voice actors, and the dialogue wasn't cheesy.
Nice.
And
it wasn't, I used to be an adventurer like you, and then I took an arrow to the knee.
Exactly, right? To find out that one of your main companions is the same voice actor as Garrus in Mass Effect, I was immediately like, why do I like this companion so much? You're like, oh, because that's Garrus.
Yeah.
And you're like, makes sense. Pretty sure they had Matt Mercer as one of the voices in there too.
That wouldn't surprise me. Matt's in everything. Yeah, so
he's in everything. Their big selling point was played on day one.
Yeah.
And it's like their selling point should have been like, hey, this is an Obsidian RPG and it's everything you love about Obsidian RPGs. And that's the same thing we're seeing with Outer Worlds 2. Played on day one. Here's a funny little clip of all the shenanigans Outer Worlds does. It's like, I know what Outer Worlds is.
Yeah.
Show the people why they want to play Outer Worlds other than they get to play on day one.
The biggest issue I have with the play it on day one kind of thing nowadays, I don't want to play games on day one. I don't want to play games on month one. I might play games in year one, but most of the time, they haven't been good. Dying Light 2, The Beast released, And apparently, on PC, ran phenomenally. It's probably the most recent game to run well on day one release. But majority of the time, that's not the case. Majority of the time, games have issues day one. And while on Xbox, they might run okay, I suppose, but you're marketing Gamepass as played on day one. So that extends to PC and potentially maybe someday Sony, which would be insane, but possible. Either way, day one is not the time to play video games. Unless you are a diehard fan, like I said last week, the Wolverine game, if I had a PS5, I'd be playing that day one. I don't. And I probably won't play it on day one when it comes to PC because Insomniac launched Spider-Man 2 in such a piss poor state on PC that it's still a mess from my understanding.
Yep.
So marketing it as play it on day one, it doesn't hit the way it should. And I think Xbox is shooting themselves in the foot. I've been thinking that for years though. So we'll see.
Yep. Luckily they have all the backing of Microsoft to keep them afloat. See how long it lasts.
You say that, but there was not too long ago that, God, what was it? We talked about it on the podcast, but basically the CEO of Microsoft came to the CEO of Xbox Studios and said, either shut it down or do this. Literally gave him an ultimatum. And the CEO was like, all right, we're going to do this. And I think it might have been the price hike on Game Pass from last year. I don't recall exactly what it was, but we talked about it a long time ago when Tim was on the show. But how much longer is Microsoft going to back Xbox?
Especially now that the game market is a little bit more like homogenized. We're getting Xbox exclusives on Sony. We're having crossovers with Helldivers of all things.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's something we've talked about as fans of video games pretty much all our lives. There was always those rumors, oh man, did you hear? Killzone's going to come to Xbox next month. Or, oh man, did you hear? Halo 2 is also going to launch on PS2. There was always those rumors, right? And now we're at this and it's like, is this good? Is this really the right thing? I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I don't know.
I can tell you that the console wars, blue and green, don't mean shit to me because I play on PC. That's pretty much it now.
Yep.
So if they both go multi-platform, just more benefit for me. I never have to have either one of them. I can just focus on my PC.
Yeah, the Xbox is the Netflix machine now, and the game machine if someone's using the computer.
Yeah. I wish them the best of luck. We've said it a million times, and I'm sorry for our long-term listeners who've heard this a million times. Xbox failing is not good for the industry. It will not do anything good for the industry if Xbox disappears, because then you have a massive gap between the child-friendly BS of Nintendo, which are going to rake you over the coals with $80 games, and the extreme hardcore side of console gaming Sony, who's going to rake you over the coals for their cost of hardware because now they have no real competition. That is just how things will go. Xbox creates that buffer and keeps those two in check. Xbox going away will do nothing but damage to the industry. So please, for the love of God, figure your shit out, Microsoft.
Yep. Everyone always jokes about it and they're like, oh, you could find a Series X on the shelves, but you'll never find a PS5 on the shelves whenever the next gen consoles came out. And you're like, yeah, that's a good thing. Like, I hope that you could find an Xbox on the shelves. Microsoft is a US company. I would hope that you'd find Xboxes on the shelves here. PlayStation's not being crazy in stock kind of makes sense a little bit. And if you thought that getting a PlayStation was hard now, it's not so much hard anymore these days. But if we didn't have Xbox, it's not like they're going to suddenly make more PlayStations. It's not like they're suddenly going to make more Switches and Switch 2s. Those still get imported. So now we're just going to have a gap of what?
There's a gap in the market. I said it before a long time ago on a Patreon episode. Henry Cavill, make a video game machine called the Cavalier. That's all I'm saying. Just
the Cavill. This is the Chevy of consoles.
Yes. It'll run really well for a short amount of time, and then it'll just all start falling apart. It's gonna bring back the red ring. It's gonna be throwing like error codes and shit, but you hit it with a couple Warhammer minis and it kicks back up and starts going. Yeah. Or you give it the Geralt grunt and it'll be like, oh, all right, I got it. I'm working.
Toss it in the oven for 30 minutes and it'll fix itself. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Yeah, I don't know, man. Microsoft has a lot of problems that they need to address. I mean, it's not a good look to be where they're at right now, raising their prices and their site literally crashing with the number of people that are refunding their subscription or canceling their subscription. That's not a good thing.
We're just seeing that effect in the US as well. This price increase was worldwide. People in Brazil, 100% price increase.
Jesus.
We don't hear about that because I don't want to say we have our head in the sand over here, but we're more likely to get US news. You don't hear about the people getting the 100%, 70, 100% price raise. $10 raise isn't going to kill me here in the United States.
Yeah.
But a 100% price raise in Brazil, where there's a lot more people who make a lot less money, like that's a significant price drop.
Yeah, that is not small. That is not small. Well, talking about significant prices, EA could be getting bought out. And I say could be because the deal hasn't gone through. But there's currently a proposition for a 55 billion with a B, as in Bravo.
Hard B
buyout for EA. And the largest shareholder is going to be an organization called the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. We're going to refer to it as the PIF moving forward because we're going to talk about it a lot. Now, the PIF isn't quote unquote new to video game investment or purchasing. They established in 2020, and I've got some thoughts and concerns because they have invested in a wide range of publishers and have actually acquired 2 smaller ones. And boy, they're throwing a lot of money around. And this is all part of Saudi Arabia's plan to establish a larger portfolio, I suppose, by 2030. And as we know, Saudi Arabia is incredibly rich. So let's talk about kind of their history. The PIF was established in 2020. And in that year, PIF bought 33% of SNK. First year open, boom, 33% of SNK, it's ours. In 2021, PIF established the Savvy Games Group, which is a subsidiary, I guess is the best way I can explain this from what I can find. They purchased shares in EA, Take-Two, and Activision Blizzard in 2021. In 2022, PIF bought 5% of Nintendo, surprisingly enough. I never would have thought that was a thing. 5% of Nexon, 5% of Capcom, and Savvy Games, again a subsidiary, bought 8% of Embracer Group, what we like to call the Embracer of Death. In 2023, Savvy Games bought outright Scopely, which I don't know that brand. I'm not familiar with their work, but they are a publisher, for almost $5 billion, $4.9 billion. And then in 2025, this year, they bought Niantic, they, as in the PIF, not Savvy Games, PIF bought Niantic for $3.5 billion and are now proposing to buy EA with help from Silver Lake and the Affinity Partners group to buy EA out for $55 billion. Boy, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
Biggest issue, though, this requires EA to carry $20 billion of debt. Hey, everyone, this is Russ post-recording. I didn't make this clear in the conversation, so I want to clear this up right now. When I'm referring to the PIF buying out EA, they're not buying them to keep them public, they're helping them go private. So the reason EA is carrying that $20 billion of debt is because that's what they're assuming to go private. So this is basically taking EA off the public market. They have to carry this $20 billion in debt. Hope that clears this up. That's a lot of debt. I thought I had it bad.
Yeah, that is an enormous amount of debt. And to give some reference here, the largest piece of media purchase I think ever was Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard back in 2023.
Yeah,
and that was almost $70 billion. It was like $68 billion. Microsoft's not poor. They bought them for $68 billion, but EA for $50 billion?
Yeah.
From a a company that has been, like you said, expanding their portfolio for some reason.
Pretty aggressively in the last 5 years.
Aggressively. You know, Niantic is crazy. Niantic Scopely is a mobile games.
Okay, that explains it.
Yep. So I think that's like your Monopoly Go.
Okay,
I think there's like a Star Trek game. Yeah, they have a huge. I'm also a huge mobile gamer too. I don't know how I have all this time. Nexon is huge.
It's interesting because it makes me wonder how much involvement PIF has in these publishers and developers, because games from those brands have not historically been good the last 5 years.
I like Nexon. They're good, but they're kind of shady. They do suffer from the MTX, but like so does everything else. Right. Everything suffers from MTX these days. So to me, it's like pick your poison. Who cares? But like, what have they released notably recently that's really good? Are they just still making Maple Story money? Is that what's going on?
Their biggest one was First Descendant or something like that was their newest one. Yeah, the First Descendant. But it's not fun, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was trying too hard to be Destiny with like fan service, and I was like,
yeah, it was Destiny with bunny girls. Beyond that, there was the whole lawsuit where they tried to sue the developers of Dark and Darker over copyright infringement for their still unreleased Dark and Darker like extraction fantasy dungeon delving game. And
I think Dark and Darker it's in like beta. I think no,
Nexon's
like full
game.
Release.
Right, yeah, no, Nexon
Nexon.
Yeah, Nexon sued them because they're like, oh, they copied our design. It's a dark fantasy extraction game. Well, when you say dark fantasy wizard, buddy, I bet you only 3 or 4 images pop into people's heads who can actually picture things. And they probably all look very similar. I don't have that ability, so I can't tell you what it looks like other than a long beard and a fuzzy hat. So I don't know. That's like, I see Gandalf. I don't know what you want from me. Get out of here.
I've got RuneScape in my head, outside the southeast corner of Varric.
Jesus Christ.
They're expanding their portfolio. Mm-hmm. They're buying out EA, and I can see why they want to buy out EA. Microsoft bought out Activision Blizzard because we have giants of World of Warcraft. I'm going to say it, but it obviously makes them a lot of money. Candy Crush. How many middle-aged women do you know have spent money on it?
Activision makes Candy Crush?
It's Activision Blizzard, and
are you serious?
I'm pretty sure Candy Crush is underneath that.
I gotta look this up. I had no idea. No way.
I'm pretty sure. So like I think
it's
that's
under Microsoft. Activision, but wow, holy shit, I had no idea. That's wild.
There you go. So like, hey, we're buying them out, but it's only because we want that Candy Crush, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft money. So this company buying EA, which EA to me has always been its own entity. So it's odd to see them getting purchased by somebody. It's like, oh, they want that FIFA and Madden money because they're seeing how much money that brings in, but it's still worrisome because EA makes, for better or for worse, a lot of video games. Not all of them are great.
Yeah.
A lot of them are copy paste. And I will say they were in a real downhill slump of just MTX hell, but it felt like they were kind of coming back this year. I've talked about it before endlessly. If you get me going, I'll keep talking about it. Battlefield 6. Battlefield 6 comes out
real soon. 7 days.
1 week, 7 days. I am stoked. And the amount of work and effort that Battlefield has put in with the developers and their community,
their manager.
Yeah, they've been very upfront and clear with what they're releasing for us to play. And they've been listening to feedback. I'm like, wow, this is unprecedented. They're like, hey, we're not going to have crazy skins. We're not going to have MTX. Well, like, we're not going to have like MTX like that, where like Call of Duty, like get your Beavis and Butthead skin. Like, we're going to have like real base cosmetics. You can have a cosmetic filter turn off and on. You're like, okay, cool. Like, I'm fine with that. That's fine. Like, make MTXs. Sure. Go ahead. I don't have to see a dude in a banana suit shoot me. Great.
Yeah.
But then they say all this stuff, and we've learned, take anything a developer says with a grain of salt, because they will go back on their word immediately, especially EA, and then say, oh, yep, we're getting bought out for $50 billion by this company that's buying us because they probably want that FIFA MTX money, that Madden like they want that money. How long can Battlefield persist before the shareholders say, hey, you're not meeting your sales line. You need to release your horse armor pack so we can make more money. those Oblivion armor packs. But how soon before Battlefield succumbs to the MTX? And it's a little worrisome because everything that they've done with Battlefield so far has been fantastic. So I'm concerned.
So Mark Dura, prior producer at BioWare, said EA generally doesn't run with a lot of debt. They usually operate very conservatively in the past. So them taking on 22 or 20 billion, a ridiculous amount of money in debt, them taking that on is kind of scary. And he mentions kind of the same thing you do, that they probably do want that FIFA microtransaction kind of money. They want that. They want that side of things, the EA Sports side, because that carries a lot of fans, which still blows my mind. I can't wrap my head around it, but hey, whatever floats your boat and wets your whistle. But he thinks that there are a lot of IPs that EA has still in their backlog that they probably won't ever revive. Some of those probably include Anthem, as well as other games that will probably never see the light of day again. So he's theorizing that if things get bad enough, or if things are not great, hopefully what ends up happening is EA sells off EA Entertainment. Well, I guess in this case, PIF sells off EA Entertainment and maintains EA Sports, because that's again where a lot of that revenue consistent comes from. Because these people are businessmen. They are not gamers. And I'll say this until the world collapses in the heat death of the universe. Video games are not a business for people who want to make money. Video games are a business for people who want to make video games. If you are buying a video game publisher, developer, anything with the end goal of making money, you are dooming yourself to failure, because it's transparent. Gamers will see that it's a cash grab and they will not buy it. You will fail. Embracer is a prime example of this fact. They got into games during COVID. They bought a bunch of studios, had no idea what they were getting into, and now KOTOR is in development hell for 7 years. A lot of games got canceled, and Gearbox only barely escaped the Embracer of death. We're lucky we got Borderlands 4. Just putting that out.
Yeah.
They killed Time Splitters. They killed a ton of projects. They killed Deus Ex. Video games should not be where you go for your primary money, but yet these companies continue. So they're probably after FIFA, because it's safe to say that when a FIFA game releases, it's going to have microtransactions, and the fans are going to buy those microtransactions. So therefore, you got constant, consistent income off of one product. Now, games made from EA Entertainment, like Mass Effect, like Dragon Age, like Anthem, like whatever the other IPs they have under their hat that I can't remember off the top of my head right now, because they've been sitting in a vault for so long that nobody remembers they're a thing. Selling those to a company that's going to make or remake those games, those genres, seems like a good idea. That seems honestly to me like a win-win. EA gets some money to get PIF off their back, to keep them happy, to help EA Sports continue to operate well. Hopefully, they sell off BioWare, and BioWare can become its own independent developer publisher, and they start making good stuff. They take all of the umbrella, but what's likely to happen, this is my guess as the cynic that I am when it comes to video games and people who are greedy, publishers, shareholders, what's likely to happen is this debt that EA is now carrying is going to result in a lot of studio closures and layoffs. And I would not be the least bit surprised if, for some ungodly reason, Battlefield 6 does not perform the way EA projects it to, that Respawn is the first studio closed. I hope that's not the case. But
I hope so
Respawn
too.
And BioWare are absolutely first on the chopping block. If something's getting cut, I can almost guarantee you those studios are going to be the first to go.
Yep. Pulling up some quick data to give everyone an idea for how long it would take EA to make $20 billion. It's a little crazy. So they have other quarterly reports available, which is cool. They're a publicly traded company, so why not? Get ready to lose this when they go private. But all the money that they made, and I pulled some random ones,
Sure.
is from their football games.
From Madden,
net bookings, yeah, net bookings for the quarter totaled $2 billion. American football is on track to exceed $1 billion in net bookings for fiscal year 25. And I'm not going to read them all, but there's 5 bullet points here.
Yeah.
4 of them are about football. And guess what the 5th one's about? I forgot that it was a game. I mean, I got to know it's a game. I forgot that obviously EA owns it. They do. They've owned it forever. The Sims. The 5th bullet's about The Sims.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, crazy. I forgot that The Sims 4 came out years ago.
That's a big microtransaction and DLC. Yeah, that's a big one too.
Yeah. The Sims 4 continues to expand with 15 million players joining the game over the past year.
Wow.
That's insane.
That's really cool.
And you know, they have their highlights. Net revenue was $2 billion for that quarter. So I'm like, okay, they obviously make a lot of revenue. Their trailing net profit over the last year for that was $2.19 billion. So you're like, okay, they obviously make a lot of money, trailing money, $2 billion. But if you just extrapolate that, it's going to take EA 10 years, roughly.
That's assuming they're putting all of that profit towards that debt.
Profit.
And if you're doing that, you're not funding new projects. So
exactly,
realistically, 2 decades, maybe longer.
10 years is an excruciatingly long time in the game development world for a AAA studio.
Yes.
If a AAA studio is going to come out with a game and they told us this is going to take 10 years,
you better believe that project's getting canned.
you say not almost human again, and then you move on with your life. You know, and I'm not saying like they're not going to come out with any games for 10 years, but just the landscape of video games changes. We get a new generation roughly every 5 to 8 years.
Yeah.
Just food for thought, like $20 billion.
So just looking through IPs that EA owns that they could potentially sell off and we could see revitalized by not EA, we've got Burnout, which is a franchise we haven't seen since Paradise, I think was the last one they made.
Yep.
You've got the Command and Conquer franchise, which not a big call for RTSs, but they do see their resurgence here and there. You've got Crysis, which, hell, could be a good time for a Crysis reboot. We can go back to the early 2000s and start going, but can it run Crysis again? Dead Space still can't. Dead Space just got its remake, so maybe prime for remake number 2. I don't know. The Def Jam games. I forgot EA owned Def Jam. Those were some of the most fun non-Mortal Kombat, non-Street Fighter fighting games, period. And they had a story, which was really awesome too. Def Jam, that'd be cool. Obviously Dragon Age. You've got Dungeon Keeper. I don't know what the fuck that is. I'm not familiar with that one. Got all of their sports game. They own Grid, which I don't think we've seen a new Grid for a while.
In a while.
They did just have the enormously successful Harry Potter Hogwarts Legacy. Weirdly, they own the Jurassic Park franchise games, yet Saber Interactive is the one making the newest Jurassic Park game. Medal of Honor, game we haven't seen for a while. They've tried to resurge that a couple of times, and it seems like it always falls flat because they're trying too hard to beat Call of Duty instead of being Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor and Call of Duty were very different back in the day. There was a very noticeable difference between Call of Duty 2, the big red one, and Medal of Honor War in the Pacific. Very, very different games. And since they've tried to compete with Call of Duty in the past, it's never gone well for them. But that's another franchise that's primed for a remake.
They did have their VR game. They had a Medal of Honor VR game. Yeah, and it was really well done.
All right. I'll have to check that out. They've got Mercenaries, where the term get merked came from. Started there, boys. Started with Mercenaries. That's where that all came from. Mirror's Edge, we haven't seen an entry in that in many, many years. Oh man, NFL Blitz. Like that's a game. I don't like football games, but NFL Blitz on the N64, bomb. Just good stuff. Great times. You have NBA Jam, NBA Street. Where the hell are those games at, man? Overlord. I don't know if you remember that one. That was like evil Pikmin, but so good. Overlord 1 and 2 were really solid games and really underrated. I would love to see that franchise come back. Plants vs. Zombies has never gone away, and it's weirdly never got a sequel. It just constantly gets re-released, and it's the same thing every time. Road Rash, that was a game from the Sega Genesis days that I played the absolute shit out of. Skate just came out. They own SSX Tricky or SSX. Can we get another snowboarding game, please? Can we get SSX back? Great franchise. They own Spore, obviously Star Wars Jedi series, System Shock, Syndicate, Titanfall, Ultima, Ultimate Fighting Champions, and Wing Commander. Notable franchises. You got a lot of potential there to sell those off to a different company, split off BioWare, split off Respawn, let them grow and flourish instead of die under PIF and whatever the hell they're going to do. Because them owning, this is a huge publisher. This is EA, and now PIF owns the majority stake in this. So at the end of the day, guess who gets to say what games get made and don't get made? Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. I don't know anything about them. I can't say whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But what I do know is that the industry right now, games are being made for shareholders, not for gamers. In the AAA world. Can't say that for indies, obviously. But in the AAA world, it's the money that says how games go. I'm really happy to hear that that was not the case with Battlefield 6 and that they've been very receptive to the feedback that you've given them and the rest of their community has given them, because that's not typical of AAA games. You're right. So,
yep.
I don't know.
Guess we'll see.
Yes, we'll see. And this is assuming it goes through. I don't think the Federal Trade Commission is going to block the sale at all. They didn't block Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, so I don't see them blocking this purchase either. But I am curious to see what happens to EA in the wake of PIF owning them. Man, I don't have a transition for this one. Sorry, I tried. Tides of Tomorrow, a game that Mike and I talked about shortly after the THQ showcase, has released a demo. And it answered a lot of questions we had about that game. Zach, are you familiar with Tides of Tomorrow at all?
So I'm familiar with the developer and a previous game that they developed. I actually have not seen Tides of Tomorrow.
Cool. So Tides of Tomorrow is really fucking cool. It's got a good hook. As we discussed on the Patreon side last week, you got to have a hook. Your story's got to sell your hook. It can't be a gimmick because gimmicks are see-through. You got to do something unique and new. And I'm happy to say that Tides of Tomorrow does. And their gimmick is actually a really good hook. So this game, giving you a quick overview, is very much an adventure game. It's a first-person adventure. I was hoping for a little bit more action. I'm still hoping maybe there is later on, but it seems very narrative and choice-driven. Doesn't seem like there's combat. Seems like it's a lot of sneaking around, dodging, running, that kind of thing. It's an adventure narrative game, which seems in line with their previous works with Road 93. Was that their previous game?
It was
93?
Road 96.
Road 96. Sorry, that's 3 off. Anyways, the game is basically Waterworld, which for whatever reason is an incredibly hated film, but I always really loved Kevin Costner's Waterworld. I thought it was a cool movie. Maybe I'm looking at that through the lens of a 7-year-old who thought catamarans were cool, but I don't know. I'm going to have to watch it again. Anyways, it's super color poppy. The color scheme, honestly, kind of reminds me of, it's almost cel shaded like Borderlands, but way more colorful, like hyper color, Technicolor, almost. Very, very colorful world. The whole world is flooded by some event hundreds of years ago, and it's polluted with plastics, and anybody who goes into the water gets this genetic disease called plastisis, and you've got to treat it, this and that, yada, yada, yada. So everybody lives on giant floating garbage rafts throughout the flooded world. You play as a character called a Tidewalker, and you get fished out of the ocean one day by one of these survivors, whatever, and you find out that time is kind of happening in a weird, looping, repeating, overlaying fashion. And the way that plays out in the game is this game is always online, and it's an asynchronous multiplayer game. You don't ever play with anyone else, but the actions of the players you choose to follow change how your story goes. So in my example, I followed a random person that was on Steam, and they give you a little bit of information, because that was the biggest question that Mike and I had, is like, how's this system work? You can follow who your friends list, you can follow streamers, you can follow just general public, and yeah, actually. So at the beginning of the game, you get list breakout. You can go, okay, I want to follow people I know, my friends list off of Steam. Okay, none of my friends have played this game. I want to follow a streamer. I don't like any of these streamers or the choices they've made. And they give you very short information. There's like, this guy's a troublemaker, and this guy, he's mankind friendly or so-and-so. It gives you very little information on the choices they've made. So you kind of have to base it off of your best guess. But say you don't have any friends that have played the game, and you don't have any streamers that you like watching. Not a fan of Ninja or Markiplier or any of all those guys. Don't blame you personally. If that's the case, they have bots that you can follow. And the way that plays out in the game is you get this ability to look through, I don't remember what they call it, but basically the void. And you see these little glitches in the world that you can watch, and it shows you the interactions that player had with the world around you, what their choices were, the conversations they had, and you get like minor other ones where occasionally it'll be like, hey, he went over here. This is not related to the story, but maybe there's something over in that direction. And I ended up following the character I was following to a hidden supply of scrap, which is cool. It's like, oh shit, nice. So that's the good of this game. It does this hook really well. It makes it enticing. And the way the game plays out, everyone knows this is a thing because you're just one of the Tidewalkers. But nobody really gives a shit. Everybody's just like, well, he looked like you, so it could have been you. How the hell do I know? Y'all look the same, y'all dress the same, so we're blaming you for your buddy's actions because we can't prove it wasn't you. Sounds like a great version of justice to me. You're wearing the same clothes as the guy that came in here and robbed us, so you must have robbed us. All right, guess I'll stop wearing black hoodies.
Yep, there we go.
So it's really cool. They made a really good hook for it. The gameplay feels good. The controls feel good. The one complaint I have right now from the demo, which is very brief, feels like A and B. Feels like there's only two paths through the story. You go this path or you go that path. And while they can kind of weave back and forth, you're following both the storylines, but you're only choosing one. So I was following the story of a person who basically stole this treatment stuff that you're supposed to use to help subside plasticus. It's a medicine. And so when I got to the raft, like the market was closed, everything was being patrolled. I had to sneak around because, well, your buddy came in here and stole our supplies. So now I have to sneak around. So they presumably got to just walk around freely and go where they wanted. I had to sneak. So they stole stuff and I'm trying to go back and find more of it. And I get captured and have to kind of talk to the big bad boss. And of course, I'm being a snarky asshole because fuck this guy anyways. And so I failed to like persuade him or calm him down or anything like that. And at one point he was about to cut off my wrist. I'd pulled the same trick I pulled with Dusk Punk. And I was like, you ain't going to do it. And this time he didn't. So I didn't lose my hand. I was kind of hoping to have a hook hand though. That would have been kind of cool. So
there we go.
But yeah, I think overall the gameplay is really cool. I enjoyed the open world. There wasn't a lot of the open world, but I enjoyed the open world boat navigation. The speedboat felt really responsive. It felt kind of really fun to pilot and drive. It was quick and snappy. So I'm excited for it. I think personally the only downside I have with the game is I was really hoping for a little bit more combat orientated stuff too. But I get it. That's not the focus of this game. They never hinted at any of that. They never showed any of that. So that was just my personal hopes coming through. And it's not that, but it still looks really good. And I'm really excited.
Yeah, the previous developer, I think Road 96, it was very much a story-driven game and less of a crazy action game. My favorite thing to hear about asynchronous multiplayer, first thing that comes to mind is Elden Ring. I'm going to leave a note of some ledge, secret down below, see how many people jump. Yeah.
You're one of those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, try finger, but hole.
Classic. I don't know. I'm excited for it. I'll probably definitely pick it up and play it. I think there are those games that are big because streamers get them and play them on their stream, right? And like everybody's like, oh, that looks like fun. Like I think that one repo game with the monsters where you've got to collect a bunch of garbage and shit and take it to a star. I don't remember what the fuck it's called, but it's a four-player.
I think it's is it Repo?
It might be Repo. I don't remember. It's like the monsters hunt you and you've got to get scrap and survive and go deliver scrap to some thing. I don't remember. There's games like that people buy and they stream and they have, a bunch of people follow them. And then there's games that are actually good that people stream that are narrative choice driven that actually change and are different on a narrative level. And much like Baldur's Gate 3, I think Tides of Tomorrow is going to find a lot of success in the streaming community for that, but also just find a lot of good success because it's genuinely just a good narrative game.
I'm impressed already from the Steam page. Well, let's see how the demo goes.
Yeah, you should download it and then follow my story and see how it changes your action. I'm curious to see where it goes. There's a lot of depth to ocean. That's a bad pun. There's a lot of depth that they could explore in that game because of the situation, the narrative they're selling, and this idea. I'm really curious to find out more about plastesis because like that's such a random thing that feels very artificial that I'm like, okay, what's the rules of this virus, right? Like what's it actually doing? Why is it here? So the lack of knowledge on that and finding out more about that seems really enticing to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but speaking of things we can't wait to see and are enticed with, let's jump into some quickfire and start this off with Painkiller. The remake has just kind of demoed their 3-player co-op, which is interesting. 3-player co-op would be kind of cool in a shooter, and Painkiller is doing it. They're not doing 4, they're doing 3. So you can choose one of 4 different characters for each of you, which means that always someone is left out, I guess. But they all have their different perks for energy, health, power, and damage. So each character, it's not just choosing a skin, you actually kind of fill a role with your characters, much like Borderlands and other co-op shooters. They have a mode that Zach will be a big fan of. It's a roguelike mode where it's wave survival, get perks as you go, always different each time you do it kind of thing. So right up your alley. And for those of you who don't know Painkiller, it is what is now referred to as a boomer shooter. It's a boomer shooter like Doom, where you run around and kill demons and fight through hell and try and stop a fallen angel from eradicating mankind. It's kind of the scope of Painkiller.
You know, after the wild success, and I say it sarcastically, of Killing Floor 3, I think Painkiller will definitely have its niche here this year in October.
Yeah, I wanted to like Killing Floor games, but what doesn't do it for me is the lack of story. It seems like there's a lot of potential there to do a narrative, and in fact, I actually got, way back when CoinDrop was a website, I got a review copy of Killing Floor Incursion for VR, which was their story. And that was kind of fun. But I feel like, again, all these games, man, I'm a narrative guy, and I'm always going to default to like, give me a reason why the zombie apocalypse is happening. Why are these monsters being made? Who's behind this? What can we do about it? I don't want to just kill them endlessly. I want a reason for it. The fact that Painkiller is including a story, even though the devs say, hey, our focus is 3-player, fast-paced, brutal boomer shooter style and not so much the story, the fact that they still have a story mode is enticing enough to me to go, I'll check it out. Comes out October 21st, so it's not far away. I'm curious to see how it does because, like you said, Killing Floor 3 was not really the best received, so I wonder if a lot of those people who are into that style are going to pick up Painkiller and play that instead.
Yeah, I'm going to pick it up. I'm not a huge fan of boomer shooters, but you had me at roguelike.
Yep, I figured that's what would grab you. I like boomer shooters. I'm a big fan of Doom. But again, I also need the narrative. Like the fun gameplay, the fun, gory, over-the-top brutalizations are fun, but I need a reason for it too. Speaking of reasons for it to exist, another really cool game coming out soon, before the end of the year. Don't have an exact release date on this, but it has a demo. I've been meaning to pick it up. This is Beneath. Now, this is another old school shooter style. It's a first-person shooter that takes place under the ocean, hence Beneath, in a abandoned research facility way underwater that has somehow got a zombie outbreak or something else like that going on down there. And it is,
of course,
right? Like, it just makes sense. Water, zombies, what's the problem here? My guess, knowing nothing about the story, there's a research facility. They were researching a newfound species or organism or flora or fauna or something, and wouldn't you know it, it got into the water system inside the base, or it went airborne, and now everybody's infected, and you're the only one that's not. That's just my stab in the dark. I'm sure the story is a little bit better than that, because if it's that, it's... But they advertise it as an old school style, story-driven survival horror game. No multiplayer, no online play, no microtransactions, just you and guns and the endless depth of the ocean.
All right.
Yeah. Seems kind of cool. Comes out later this fall. Don't have an exact release date, but there is a demo. So if you're interested in a new FPS survival horror game, there you go. And I don't mean survival crafting. I mean survival like Resident Evil 2. Speaking of management, I guess that's the best I can do for you guys.
It's a transition.
Look, it's one of them. Peter Molyneux says he's done after this game. This is his last game, and then he's walking away. Now, for anybody who knows Peter Molyneux, he is... I want to give the man some credit. I don't think he intends to, but he's a compulsive liar. Like, I think he needs to be diagnosed compulsive liar, because if you go back to Fable Journey, they were showing it on stage at E3, and Peter Molyneux says multiple times this game is not on rails. But the game was definitely on rails. It was, I think he's either got a very special strain of the autism gene, where he takes literally everything literal, and he thought people were saying that you were on a train car. I don't know where that man's mind was, but he was adamantly refuting that this game was on rails when it was clearly on rails, and the finished game was on rails. And Zach, you mentioned before the show, he said that the original Fable was going to be 200 hours long.
Something like that.
This is about 16, maybe 20,
yeah.
Maybe 30 if you really stretch it and try and do everything. Not that he doesn't make good stuff, but I also think that his reputation is probably part of why he's planning on leaving the industry. I think it wears on it, right? Like if you have a reputation, you are known the world over as, oh yeah, you're the Fable guy. You're the guy that lies a lot. Oof.
Yep.
Oof. That's not a good look.
The company that he runs and develops games with, it's called 22 Cans. And I mentioned earlier, I like to play a lot of mobile games. And one of my favorite mobile games was a Peter Molyneux game from 22 Cans. It's called The Trail. And it was a game on rails. Not literally on rails, but you're on a rail. And oddly enough, that actually made that game fun. It's like Oregon Trail. You're on foot, you're walking through whatever nature, you collect resources, you have a backpack. The game's asynchronous, so you'll have people walking with you. And it was a really awesome concept for a rail game. You don't even realize that you're actually playing a rail game. You're like, oh, this is great. And I think there's a Steam version of it too, so you can see the trail.
Yeah, I'm watching
Fantastic
the trailer
concept.
right now. It's interesting.
Yeah, it was a great concept for a game style that doesn't really exist anymore. But in typical Peter Molyneux fashion, it ended development support, and I think the mobile version hasn't had an update in years. But of course, you can still access the MTX shop and cosmetic shop.
Of course.
There's no patch updates for new software. So if you're somebody who has a phone newer than 2018, 19,
yeah,
the game doesn't either run well or run at all. So you can't play it. I have hope that Masters of Albion will be something good, because they obviously can make a game that is fun to play that's not like other games. So I hope that whatever they're coming out with is good. I just also hope that they don't end development for it a year after they release it.
Yeah.
Or support.
Well, the weird thing is the city builder, kind of. Masters of Albion, it's a very different game than what he's done in the past. And I don't know if it's my thing. It seems interesting enough because it has kind of this storybook style vibe to it, of like you just opened a pop-up book and now you're just reaching around and moving people, because you actually have a hand on screen and you can interact with stuff. And I don't know, it seems interesting, but I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess.
I've learned my lesson a few times from Peter.
Yeah.
Peter.
Yeah. You know, I wish the man best of luck. I hope he enjoys retirement when he's done. And it sucks that for the last nearly 3 decades, the man has had a reputation as the most infamous liar. That sucks.
Yep.
Speaking of other things that suck, Kingmaker got delayed 5 days before launch. And there is no word as to when it's going to release.
5 days.
5 days before launch. Hey, you know what other game got delayed right before it launched, the day before. And then the game finally released and it shut down 3 days later.
Oh boy, I am the trash man.
Trash for the trash god, buddy.
trash for the trash god.
I'm glad you knew about that one. That was such a niche episode.
Well,
that was
yeah, so the day before came out on my birthday.
Oh man.
So I had taken that day off.
Yeah, I think I took it off too.
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit, I think, before it came out, and I remember playing it, and I just remember talking to you like, what is this?
Yeah.
This is not
at all what they said it was.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
But that was
we could make a whole episode of that.
Oh, dude, we did. That was actually one of our.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, but that was.
I listened to it.
Yeah, that was one of our. Yeah, it was one of our best episodes, I think, in terms of like a deep dive into that. But yeah, it was one of those games you had to make your own fun because the developers just shortchanged everything. And I'm getting that feeling from the Kingmaker as well. For those of you who don't know, Kingmaker is an interesting idea that kind of took from the Evil Dead and made it a video game that's not the Evil Dead. So you play as a time traveler who brings tech from the future to fight wars in the past. And what I mean by that is like you bring a 67 Chevy and a shotgun to the medieval ages and start romping around shooting people on horses. Sounds like crazy fun. Also has like a strategy mode to it where you can like RTS it and control it that way. It's got like a city builder aspect to it. They're showing about as much different content as the day before did, when it's like, hey, this is the game. Oh, but you can also do this, but you also have cars, but you also have this, but we're also a racing game, but we're also, it seems very similar in terms of content scattering as the day before. And the fact that it got delayed 5 days before it drops with no word about when it's going to release, maybe don't buy it, or maybe do, and we'll have Trash for the Trash God Part 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, as long as they're not delaying the release because their name was reserved by some calendar app or something, or
oh my god, yeah, that scandal, dude. Holy shit.
I think Kingmakers was announced roughly the same time as another game that I've been itching to see something from. Are you familiar with Blight Survival?
Yes, I am. And I'm right there with you, man. And there was another one that looked very much like Dark Messiah and that kind of vibe called Alcahest, which is the same thing. We talked about Alcahest as well. And yeah, those are other games that look phenomenal, but are they ever going to release? Are they going to deliver on the promise of what they showed? Probably not.
At least Blight Survival had at least a dev update in September. So
Alcahest, last I look, actually had an update recently too. I was hoping to see something from them at Gamescom. Unreal Engine makes a lot of things possible for small developers that would not even be able to be dreamed of 10 years ago. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the people using the tools know how to make it happen. We can hope.
We can hope. We can answer the question, how many knights in armor could one man with a 249 saw stop?
Yep. It's a real shame that it got pushed with really no explanation, but yeah, we'll just leave it at that. A project I've thought about doing with that guy back there, for those of you who are watching on the YouTube side, the Lego Nintendo Entertainment System, the Lego Game Boy came out, and it's one that I actually want to buy and add to my collection. Somebody turned it into a functional Game Boy. It's pretty fucking cool. I've thought about doing that with my Legos, getting a NES Mini, and then basically stripping it down, hollowing that thing out, gluing everything together and putting it in there, and then taking the screen out of the TV and making that the actual TV for it. I've thought about doing that. It's cool to see that somebody has done that with the Game Boy. Yeah, just a cool little shout out. Cool project. Great idea.
Can it play Doom?
So at PAX, they do like, the street banners or whatever, right? And they're always cloth. And I was walking down the street, I was waiting across the street to go into the convention, and I just happened to look up, and a cloth banner on the banner said, "This banner can play Doom." And I was like, you know what? Probably could.
Probably could.
Oh shit, yeah. a woman's pregnancy test can play Doom, it can probably play Doom.
Yep.
Moving on here, last one I've got for you guys. When KOTOR, the remake, for those of you who don't know, the development hell that game has been going through, the remake, Knights of the Old Republic, was first being developed by Embracer Group at Asper, and is now being developed by Saber Interactive. Who knows where the game's at this point? Well, some images from the previous iteration being made at Asper have surfaced online because the artist has put them in his portfolio. So he's out there looking for work, threw them in his portfolio, boom, here we go. We have some images of what the KOTOR remake could have or will potentially look like. There's not a lot there. You get a couple pictures of vibroblades and some other stuff, some character sketching, that kind of thing. Not a ton of content there, but still cool to see something from a game that we have only ever seen 7 seconds of Darth Revan.
We're getting there. Someday.
You know, at this rate, it'll be 3,000 years and we'll finally have 3,000 seconds. So maybe by then we'll have something, but I'll be dead and buried and won't matter.
They'll have Peter Molyneux's ghost in charge of it.
Look, as long as they've got, like, I don't know, John Cleese coming back from the grave to voice somebody in it, sounds good.
There we go.
Have John Cleese and Robin Williams and James Earl Jones all doing voices, robot voices, or we'll just bring him back with AI. Fuck it.
Yeah, there we go. And we'll get somehow also Matt Mercer in there.
Yes,
Why not?
of course, because he's in everything. It's really funny. Last little side tangent before we go here. I was watching an episode of Game Grumps, and Aaron was saying, like, every time he goes to do a voice acting bit, if it's not like a comedic funny guy thing, he knows he's not going to get it, but he does it anyways. And he always tells his manager or whatever to, like, give Matt Mercer my regards and congratulations, like, on everything he does, because it's always going to end up in Matt Mercer's hands. It's really fun.
Every time.
Well, that is going to wrap it up for us, guys. Thank you so much for continuing to join us. And if you're interested in our thoughts on where Diablo 4 is and the modern state of gaming right now and the difficulties of the legacy of a game like Diablo 4, consider coming over to Patreon at patreon.com/CoinDrop Pod. You can join us over there for extra content, more news, early access, all that great stuff. Links in description, on our Linktree, on our Discord, everywhere you can find it. It's there. Facebook, we have a TikTok, we have an Instagram, we have all the socials now. We just haven't gotten around to updating everything. It's a lot of work. But if you want to hear us rant about Diablo for 30 to 45 minutes, come on over. But that is going to be it for us here. So, Zach, any final words for the audience tonight?
For once, you caught me off guard. I don't have a grocery list or a game rating to talk about. So maybe someday I hopefully can talk about Peter Molyneux in a good way.
Yeah.
One can hope.
One can hope.
That's all I got.
I have something I would love to say, but the only thing I can say is I am under NDA on a playtest. And as soon as I can tell you more, I will happily tell you more. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you next time.